Hello everybody, this video will cover portfolio optimization. It will give a brief overview of portfolio optimization for two assets that will be covered in class, and also a multiple asset portfolio optimization that is most efficient to be solved in a spreadsheet or data analysis or statistical software. We're going to do it here in Excel. For two assets, this is a spreadsheet and what it looks like after it's completed. It will be covered in class, but these formulas will look familiar. This is a portfolio volatility formula for two assets. You calculate the volatility of the portfolio. In this column here, standard deviation, you calculate the expected return which is the weighted average of expected returns of each individual asset, and then you use the risky portfolio optimization formula for optimal weight of two risky assets. And as a reminder, this formula is a first derivative of a Sharpe ratio. All of these formulas are here, and in fact, all of the commands are typed in. What you will need to do for your homework is question 4.2 and 4.3. I will briefly show you what that's supposed to look like. This is what your final result needs to be. This is the input cells, and here are tables with explanations of what you need to do. Question 4.2 is an introduction to question 4.3. You can't do question 4.3 without an introduction to question 4.2. And now for those of you who are interested, question 4.3 uses many risky assets, but really in reality what they're doing is they're doing 5 assets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 risky assets. Question 4.4, which you will not be required to do, but I highly encourage you to save this spreadsheet and use it on your own time. It's titled Any Risky Assets, but they're using 20 assets. And this is programmed for doing 20. You can, once you learn how the spreadsheet works, it's fairly complex, but it's explained just as question 4.3. All of the formulas are explained here. Once you learn how the spreadsheet works, you can use it to your advantage. You can calculate, you can download data from Yahoo Finance or any other data provider and calculate variance covariance metrics for your risky assets and figure out your complete portfolio. It does not have to be the assets that are here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. What I will do is I will exit the completed spreadsheet, and I will start with your spreadsheet. The first thing it asks you is whether you want to enable or disable macros. There are some small aspects here that have the macros built in, but you don't have to program any macros. Click enable. You want to be careful about this, right? I don't enable macros on spreadsheets. You don't know, but this one is downloaded directly from the publisher, and should be okay. All right. Question 4.1 will be covered in the classroom. Let's go to question 4.2. There's a lot of information here in this question, so let's see what it is. Question 4.2 is fairly straightforward. All we're doing is calculating descriptive statistics. So we're going to calculate averages and correlations and or covariances that we'll later use in question 4.3. Okay, so here in columns B through T, we actually have panel data. Panel data is data that for multiple variables over time. If we have one variable over time, we call that a time series data. So we have, these are basically 10 years of returns, of monthly returns for different stocks. You will see that as we're doing this analysis, the returns are fairly low. And this is because the return period is interesting. The returns here include one of the worst return periods in the recent memory. 2000, I think the bad returns started 2008, but we already had July with negative returns, and even April and May, months that preceded the Great Recession. Years 2010 and 11 were fairly sluggish, and really 2012, and really it was 2013 and 14, if not 16, when things started really heating up, and we saw a ton of growth in the stock market, which is typical. We see these, that's a normal cyclicality. So when we talk about cyclicality, it's business cycles. So just keep in mind that the returns that we will be calculating here will be low in comparison to long-term averages. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. The nice thing about this spreadsheet and how it works is that these comments here that are visible are numbered, and they are numbered to guide the order in which you need to manipulate this data. So let's go ahead and the directions are fairly straightforward. So here it says, number 1, transpose monthly returns matrix. And we're going to enter this as a Excel matrix. And what we want to do is you want to say transpose in cell AB5. So it says select range AB5, and you want to type in transpose. And it says A4 to T125. You can type it in, but I'm going to do it so you guys can see what I'm doing. So A4 to T125. Basically, it's just this table. Okay, we're transposing this data. Why are we doing this? This is going to help us calculate descriptive statistics, specifically the variance-covariance matrix. Okay, so it says here you have to select the cells, but frankly you don't. What you need to do is you need to go into the first cell, A4, AB5 here, and simply type in this formula. It will create the matrix for you. And this is very useful. You can also hard code the transpose by highlighting the data and calculate using copy and then paste special. But this is actually a lot more useful. And what's nice about it is that this data, once you do this one time, this can be just your feed column for any data that you want going forward, right? You can just download the 10 years of monthly data and paste the returns here. And I do have videos on that on my YouTube channel as well. Okay, so we did the transpose. Why are we transposing this? We are transposing this because that will help us calculate variance-covariance matrix that we need, as you remember, to calculate the individual covariances between the assets to later use to calculate the variance and standard deviation of portfolio. Whichever weights and whichever assets you do end up choosing, the covariances of these assets will determine the effectiveness of diversification or how much risk you can lower in your portfolio. So let's go ahead